what we are experiencing at the border, and the reason we continue to raise this issue, is because a decade ago or so, certainly during the Trump campaign, the border issue was seen as a race issue. It was often framed in that sense, that people who were for lax border policies were people who were not racist. People who were for strong border protections were the people who were racist. And of course, it was always more complex than that. But it seems that across the aisle, left-wing media, right-wing media, that narrative has essentially been dropped because there's an understanding that there are significant implications for the country. The opioid epidemic has only gotten worse over the last decade. And we've seen, depending on the states, and some of the Rust Belt states have felt this most acutely, we saw a dramatic increase during the COVID pandemic lockdowns, where people who were lonely and depressed and out of work in many cases turned to drugs as a coping mechanism, and as a result ended up dead with the drugs that they were taking. And we mentioned the tens of thousands of pounds of fentanyl that is being seized. For context, it's only milligrams of fentanyl that are required to kill someone. So tens of thousands of pounds getting across the border is a significant, significant issue. Joining me now to discuss all of it is Congressman Chip Roy. He serves on the House Judiciary Committee. He's from the 21st District of Texas. Congressman Roy, good to see you today.
Yeah, good to be on. Hope you're doing well.
I am. You have consistently sounded the alarm about the deteriorating situation at the border. Are things getting any better?
I wish I could say yes. Unfortunately, no. Texas authorities are doing everything they can in the complete absence of the federal government. You have a federal government that is purposely refusing to carry out and execute the pretty much black letter laws of the United States to ensure that we have operational control of our border and that people are supposed to follow the laws to come into our country. We're not doing that. We're now being inundated. Border Patrol is overwhelmed. And as a result, you have 107,000 Americans who have died from opioid poisonings or overdoses driven heavily by fentanyl. The DEA just last few weeks pulled in a bunch of product off the street, which they do every once in a while, and they test to see what's in it. 40% of that product was laced with fentanyl. We have thousands of people across this country dying. One pill will kill. Adderall, Xanax, smoking a joint, laced with fentanyl, you're dead. It's no longer just a simple mistake. It will cost you your life. And that's a direct result of China driving it up through our border, which is wide open and exposed. And just yesterday, we had I think it was either 3-year-old or 5-year-old little girl who drowned in the Rio Grande River, children being put into the sex trafficking trade, dead migrants in body morgues along the border. And somehow that's compassionate. And I like to say to all my Christian brethren out there, I'm glad we won a hard-fought victory on life, but it is horrible that the strongest and greatest country in the history of the world is allowing modern-day slavery and sex trafficking in our country. So we don't need to sleep because we had a victory there. We need to get vigilant right now in trying to secure our border for the benefit of Americans and migrants.
I think that's a very fair point that you make in all the conversation about life. Really what we're seeing at the border is a life issue, both for those coming across the border, in many cases just looking for a better life, but also the way that nefarious forces are using our lax border policy against us and in very lethal ways against our population. One other subject I want to get to you with, though, in Austin, Texas, a fire department chaplain was fired for expressing his views on social media about men competing in women's sports. That, I believe, is close to your district. What's your reaction to what's going on there?
Yeah, in fact, I represent that part of Austin. Dr. Andrew Fox, 8 years, a chaplain in Austin, a volunteer chaplain with the fire department. He basically spearheaded and set up the program, never had a single complaint, was well respected, worked with everybody in the fire department. He did post some material online in a social media format, and then somebody complained about it. He then sat down, met with them, tried to work through it, and kind of talked to people about what it was. And then he was ultimately fired by the Austin Fire Department for engaging in free speech for his closely held religious beliefs. Thankfully, our friends at ADF and are helping him sue because he's been wrongfully fired for carrying out his religious values and beliefs. But this is just another example of the woke brigade that is, trying to drive out people of faith from not just the public square, but from the private engagement and try to help people as this pastor was trying to do. And it's wrong. I'm glad that he's suing over it. And I'm glad that ADF is helping. And Tony has been great in highlighting this and you guys at FRC generally.
Yeah, well, we certainly care about it. Congressman, about 30 seconds. What do you recommend cities do to become just generally more tolerant of the fact that people have different views?
Well, I think they should do this crazy thing and read the First Amendment of the United States Constitution and protect religious liberty. Allow people to speak freely. You can figure out how to manage your workplace environment in a way that is healthy to allow the free flow of ideas, but you got to allow people to have their private, closely held religious beliefs and to carry out their lives accordingly. That's what the founders laid out for us. That's why our First Amendment is so vibrant, and it's why it's a model for the world. So stop tearing it up in the name of allegedly some sort of open-mindedness. It's the opposite.
Congressman Roy, thanks for stopping by today.
Hey, God bless. Take care.